reading about the Jews and their history.
Tell me about it.
You really want to know about the Jews? Well, I'm no expert, but I guess I'll tell you what I do know. So it all started in the Garden of Eden when God created Adam. He decided that Adam was lonely and needed a companion, so he took Adam's rib, and from Adam's rib, he formed Eve. The Garden of Eden was perfect, and Adam and Eve could do anything they liked, but there was one rule. They were not allowed to eat fruit from the tree of knowledge. But one day the devil in the form of a snake convinced Eve to eat an apple from the tree, and then Eve convinced Adam to eat the apple too. God was very mad about this, and banished them from the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve now had knowledge of both good and evil, and had lost their innocence. Eventually, the world became full of people, and a problem arose. Man wanted to fight man, and there were no good people left, except for one. God found Noah, the last man with a good heart, and instructed him to build an ark, and Noah did so. God then instructed Noah to gather pairs of every species of animal, as well as bring his family aboard, so they would be safe when the world got flooded. Then the great flood came, which wiped out everything on the world except for what had been saved on the ark. They floated around for quite some time until one day they hit land, and the waters had subsided. Noah's family and the saved animals then repopulated the world. But that didn't solve all the Jews' problems. They were forced to be slaves for the Pharaoh in Egypt. They worked long and hard hours, manning the fields and building the pyramids. But once again God stepped in and found Moses, who he gave the power to change things. Using his staff, Moses first turned the water to blood. Then a second plague came, and Moses put frogs everywhere. And that was followed by a plague of gnats and fleas that swarmed everywhere. And then came the flies, which were followed by a plague of an awful disease that killed all the livestock. By this point, Pharaoh was getting very mad, and all Moses wanted was the release of the Jews. But Pharaoh would not comply, and in return another plague happened. Boils this time. It was awful. Everyone had red dots all over them. Once again, Moses demanded the simple release of the Jews from slavery. And when Pharaoh refused, yet another plague fell from the sky in the form of fiery hail, which was soon followed up by a plague of locusts which swarmed and killed all the crops. Pharaoh still was not willing to release the Jewish slaves, and in return a plague of darkness fell on Egypt for 3 days. In a final attempt to be free, the angel of death came and killed the firstborn male of all families except for the Jewish families. The angel of death knew to pass these families over because they had lamb's blood on their doors. And that's where the tradition of Passover comes from. After this, the Pharaoh had no choice but to release the Jews. But that left Pharaoh with no one to work for him. The Jews left Egypt with Moses as their leader, guiding them to the Promised Land. As the Jews were wandering in the desert, Pharaoh had a change of heart and decided to send his army after the Jews and capture them back. But the army did not catch up to the Jews until they reached the Red Sea. The Jews were trapped, but a miracle happened when Moses threw his staff down. And all of a sudden, the waters parted, allowing the Jews to safely cross. They safely made it across, but when Pharaoh's army tried to follow them, the waters fell on top of them. They drowned. Moses then led the people to the Promised Land of Israel, where he climbed Mount Sinai and was given the 10 Commandments by God, which are the laws for the Jewish tradition.
Oh my gosh! I didn't know any of that. Those are some pretty neat stories. Didn't all of that happen a long time ago? Even before when Grandma and Grandpa were born?
It did. It happened thousands of years ago.
That's so long ago. What about the Jews now? What did they do?
Well, back when your grandparents were your age, some really awful bad things happened to the Jews. This evil man named Hitler came into power in Germany. His goal was to exterminate every single Jew. First, he put them in ghettos, followed by concentration camps. This was during World War II. He starved the Jews to death and treated them like animals. This was called the Holocaust. 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust before the Allied forces liberated the concentration camps and toppled the Hitler regime. It was the worst genocide ever. After the Holocaust, the Jews were given their own country called Israel. But the Palestinian people claimed the same land as their own too. This has led to acts of terrorism against Israelis as well as Palestinians, and very high tensions. But the Israeli people continue to pursue their dream of a homeland and find peace.
That's not fair! What did they do wrong?
Well, that's a good question, but I don't think they did anything wrong, really.
Can I be Jewish?
Funny you should ask. I haven't told you this before, but Mom and I are Jewish. We just don't practice it.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I think everybody should be Jewish.
Hold on, I have something I want to show you. These belong to your grandpa, and before that, they belonged to your great-grandpa who died in the Holocaust. This is a tallis. You wear it around your neck when you're praying. And this is tefillin. Wear one around your arm and one around your head also while you're praying. They are for you when you turn 13.
Dude, those are pretty cool. Why can't I have them now?
When you turn 13, you'll become a full Jewish adult when you have your bar mitzvah. And you have to wait until then.
I really can't wait to do that. I can't wait to have a bar mitzvah to be an adult like you, Dad.
Since you're so interested, why don't we go to synagogue this weekend? That's where Jewish people gather and pray. I think there's one by your school, and I bet Mom would love to come too.
We can all go together. Let's